my screen now? No. Anyways, so I'll continue reading from that. Both the supersoul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is the fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters. And Arjun is the atomic soul, just like us, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. So when we are in the situation where we have these kind of anxieties, fear, the only way we can actually get our mind detached or disconnected from that. Of course, we have to deal with the situation. You can't stop working. You can't just run away. You have to deal with it. But mind has to be detached from the anxiety. I mean, it's the process is that you divert it towards the super soul. And okay, I'll share my screen now. Yes, great, thank you. And the diversion itself helps you disconnect from that situation, detach from the situation, not disconnect from the situation, my bad, detach from the situation. So does it mean that when we are under the situation, we have to disconnect or go away from the situation, or do we have to face that situation?
Face, Prabhu.
Yes, good. How do we face that situation?
It depends, like there are different kind of situations. So we need to, as you said earlier, mentioned that we need to detach ourselves and.
Okay, so you took that step of taking the shelter of Lord's names, chanting, trying to detach your mind onto and attaching it to the name of Krishna. Okay, you're meditating, that's fine. But what about the situation still there, right? What do you do with that?
I would then look for practical solutions to it.
Okay, so now who gives you the practical solution?
Buddhi.
We
Very
should use
nice.
intelligence, yeah.
Yes. And what is intelligence?
आपके कर्मों का फल.
Intelligence itself is that Paramatma's voice. So when and you get that voice, you get that solution, or you get that decision to make or to take at that point to do what is to be done, only if you are in the right shelter. If your mind in the right shelter, if your mind is at the right shelter. Now, when you take to that, when you think about Krishna, when you think or listen to your chant or whatever, there are many ways you can actually detach from that, from the situation and connect or attach with Krishna, but still continue working on that situation, trying to find the solution of that problem. But listening to what your intelligence says, who is under the shelter of Krishna, or meditating to Krishna. Is it making sense?
Yes, Prabhu, totally.
Yeah. Generally, people, including me, most of the times, we are under the shelter of materialistic desires. Now, material desires doesn't mean they're bad. Okay. So materialistic desires are normal. We all have those materialistic desires because we live in this material world. We like to eat, we like to mate, we like to fall in love with someone. We like to, sometimes someone likes to drink. Sometimes someone likes to go out. These are all desires. So these are there, and if someone has it, it's completely normal. Yes, we are in this world, so we will have this. But taking the shelter of that desire completely will not help you take the right decision. Some people drink, okay, but some people take the shelter of drinking. There is a statement that there is no problem which cannot be solved at the bottom of the bottle of alcohol. There is a statement like that. So that is not right. Lust or money or eating or mating, or, all these kind of desires, you have them as a human being. That's completely normal. But if you are only under that shelter constantly, what does that mean? If you're understanding what I'm trying to say, can you explain me what I'm trying to say?
You have surrendered to a wrong area, wrong place.
That's correct. But what is that? What is it that describes that you are in that shelter?
Avoidance.
Maya.
Dependence, Prabhu. Like
Huh?
you're depending.
Yes, you're almost
Yeah,
yes. You're depending on.
temporary solutions.
Very good. But what is that word? I have used that word before. There is a particular phrase or a word which we use for that. Everyone has that, his own.
Consciousness.
Yes, the consciousness is towards that. Yes. Yes. But it's not the consciousness. It is not the
Prabhu,
consciousness.
I have to call it weakness.
No.
Integrity.
It is your satisfying object. Okay. Now I'll explain you what is the satisfying object. Whenever you have any kind of bad situation or a good situation, you're excited or you are distressed. These are the trough and the crest of emotions. Okay, when you are in this, either of these two, you tend to fall on that satisfying object. It may be one, it may be two, I don't know. Depends on everyone, individual. You take the shelter of that. Some people drink, some people have eating or whatever habit, Just yeah. So that satisfying object is on that individual, is personal. Sometimes even your closest one, your husband, your mother, your sister, brother, even they don't know your satisfying object. If you know what I'm talking about, you only know that. So everyone has their own individual, and that is what you have taken shelter of. If you can replace that satisfying object with Krishna's names, with the mantra or Krishna's thought, that is called success. Okay. When you say successful, you say successful, who's successful? Success depends. It varies throughout our. So when a child is born, after a few months, the big success for the child is to eat solids, not just drink milk, but to have some solids. Then when he grows up, the success for the child is to walk on his own feet. When he grows furthermore, success is to get to a good school. When he goes further up, success is to get into a good college, university, then further get a good job, then get a good wife. That's success. And then after that, to maintain that relationship, maintain that job is success. Go higher in the hierarchy, better job is success. After that, when he grows old, then later on, again, it comes back. Standing on the own feet is success. Eating solids is success. So it's a trough and a crest which goes on. But that is always changing. So if you see that success which we talk about in our lives is a variable, it's not a constant. It keeps changing with time. The factor is time. What you want when you are at the age of 30 or 40 may not be useful to you when you are 90. Yeah. Yes, correct. Yes, Kalfish.
Long story short, I would like to define this as जहां से सुख आता है वहीं से दुख आता है.
That Krishna will explain in chapter 5. That what is the every pleasure, it does bring pain, but that is a different verse. Yes, it's a continuation. But my point is that if you want to be successful in your life, most important thing is that your intelligence is at its peak when you are making any decisions, and it's in the right shelter. It is not contaminated. It is not influenced by lust, greed, or any other desires.
But Prabhuji,
So
if you don't have desire, how can be human beings with this body? While you are in this body, how can you not have desires?
No, you will have desires. Always. You'll always have a desire. But to be in the shelter of a desire is a different thing. Okay? So everybody has lust. Everyone has lust and greed. But to be always in that mode of lust or greed is something which will hamper your intelligence.
So is influence that word which you were asking us about?
What is that? Influence?
Is influence that word which you were asking us about?
No, satisfying object.
Yeah, what is that word?
So satisfying object is that word. So what is
Okay.
your satisfying object? You know it by your own self. You would know. And that is your satisfying object or activity or whatever that you do when you are distressed, or when you are extremely happy or you're extremely distressed. It may be two different things. It may be two different activities, but it's only you who knows it. It's only I who know mine. And it's very hard to share that. Sometimes people will not be able to understand, that thing which is satisfying you. Even the biggest scientists like Albert Einstein, he has quoted that out of all the things which he has analyzed, the most difficult thing to understand is the human mind. So what desires, what fantasy, what kind of a urge you might have, you only know that. And it's hard to share sometimes with someone, because people don't understand. So that is your satisfying object. So when you have that satisfying object as your spiritual activity or spiritual process, it may be thoughts, it may be chanting, it may be serving something to the deities, or cooking something for the deities, or it can be anything. Sitting quiet in nature and thinking about your own supreme, whatever you have in your heart. It can be any activity. If that becomes your satisfying object, your satisfying activity, then you'll be able to take correct decisions. And that is what is required to come out of that situation which you are in. And that decision which you take to act during that situation, that whatever you do, that will help you to come out of that situation and if it is Krishna in some way or the other, he guides it. And that is pretty much what we discussed is 2.20. So in 2.20, Krishna explains that the soul, to understand the soul, to understand the nature of the soul, is what your purpose of life should be. This is what you should focus your thought upon. If you understand your soul, only then you will be able to understand the super soul or the Paramatma. And this process of chanting, which helps us to come out of any bad situation, which Krishna is helping Arjun with, also gives you enlightenment of self-realization. So it's a bonus. So when we say that why Krishna is answering Arjun when he's distressed, why is he speaking about the soul to him? Because until and unless you do not identify yourself as to who you are, you do not know as to what is your characteristic, you will not be able to use your own resources. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Identification is the first step towards your problem solving. How? Question to all of you. How identification is the first step towards problem solving? Nilimaji, I will ask this question to you. Do you think it is right, or do you think otherwise? If you want to comment, or you want to debate, or you want to say, no, that statement is not right.
Yeah, no, I agree, because awareness or bringing to light something is important before you can address it. So
wonderful. So any example you would like to give with your own experience?
Yeah, I would say that maybe a few years ago, I was dealing with stressful situations with poor diet and sometimes consuming alcohol for not social purposes, but for trying to evade your emotions. But I think sitting consciously through meditation or other means and analyzing your behavior and being aware of your actions is, I think, the first step for you to say, okay, is this the right thing for me or not? And then only then you can choose to correct it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah,
so when you have a problem, like you have a plumbing issue, in your house, you wouldn't call a doctor, would you? you will be identifying someone who understands the plumbing issues. So you'll call a plumber. Yeah. So to fix the problem of lamentation Arjun has, the first thing Krishna is doing is to make him aware, to identify himself as to who you are. So you are not this mind. He tells him very clearly. This is the statement which Krishna is putting. So his mind is affected, but he is not his mind. He is a soul. And what is intelligence? Intelligence is very close to the soul. Mind is not close to the soul. Mind is more close to the body. Why do I say that? Because mind is the master of your senses.
Right.
So that's why. So mind becomes more close to your senses. So mind is more close to your senses. That's why it cannot guide you. Intelligence can guide you. And intelligence can only become super active when you identify yourself. Because if you identify yourself as your body, then you're more closer to your mind. But if you try to identify yourself as a soul, then you're more close to your intelligence. Does it make sense?
Certainly, Prabhu.
Yes, yep. Totally makes sense.
Soul closer to the intelligence. So when you look at it, we had made circles earlier, but to keep it very simple, you see soul more closer to intelligence and mind more closer to body. Mind is considered to be the carrier, only the carrier. Ultimately, it is the soul which goes and travels everywhere. Even your dreams, the soul is actually traveling. So sometimes soul travels, and it doesn't return to your body, and that is death. So your body is not good enough for the soul to enter back. And that's it. So 2.20, Krishna says that for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. What does that mean? What unborn mean? That means it is not related, or it is not affected by time. Birth and death are related to time. Correct? If you take out time, there's nothing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That defines the soul. It's hard to contemplate on that one at the moment, but as we go further in Bhagavad Gita, we will be able to understand. Because if you take out time, all the equations which you have in science, or they all go for a toss. Nothing can be done with the calculations. The time is the major factor in this world. Now, when you talk about material world, what is material world? And what is spiritual world? So there are two worlds. Okay, time is the main factor in material world. Time is not the factor in spiritual world. So what is material world? Kalpesh, I'll ask you this question.
Sorry guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what difficult question पूछा आपने मुझे?
Simple question है. Simple answer है.
नहीं दिमाग नहीं चल रहा है मेरा.
Everything which is matter is material. That's material world. You see everything, this body is matter. All is matter. And matter is dead. The dead matter. It's wood, it's plastic, everything is dead. Unless there is consciousness in it, which is the soul. वो soul गया उसके अंदर, it's life. Otherwise it is dead. So what is that soul? That soul is made up of spirit, and that is spiritual world. So you see this, everything is a material world. We can see the matter. Similarly, there is a spiritual world which is made up of spirit.
Prabhuji, question.
Yes.
So I was going through a little bit about Buddhism recently.
Okay. Yeah.
So the major difference between Sanatana and Buddhism as philosophies, when they talk about the soul, the way they describe the soul is it's like current. Like there is a wire, which is a material body. The current, when it is passing through the wire, it is alive. That is how, it is not a substance with a form, a shape, or an identity. It is just a flow of energy. How do we refute this, or not even refute, but how do we understand this? Because we don't know. So it could be that it is a flow and it does not have an identity. We talk about Dvaita, but that is a different level of understanding. But how do we differentiate?
I'll just go one step back.
Okay.
Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
Buddha is one of the incarnations of Vishnu.
Yeah.
One of the 10 Dashavatars. One is Buddha. Yes.
Okay. Yep.
So when he took avatar, he refuted everything what is written in Vedas.
Yeah.
Said, don't read the scriptures. Do not consider them. They are unreal.
Yeah. That's why it's called Dastikvad. So
There is something more what he said after that. This is very important here. This is the googly. He said, forget Vedas, forget the Shastras, nothing, they're not right. Just put your focus on me. I'm everything.
okay.
So he says that forget what is written there. What is written there in Bhagavad Gita is Krishna. It's Bhagavan. Buddha says, don't worry about that. I am God. But who's Buddha? Buddha is second incarnation. So you don't believe anything else, believe in me. So ultimately you believe in God.
Okay.
Does it make sense? It's a very smart thing to do, I would say, very, very smart thing to do. You forget what is written in the books, which is written that God is Krishna, who is also in, Dashavatar. But forget all that. That's not right. I'm the God. You believe in me. Everybody starts believing in him, surrendering onto him. That's exactly what Bhagavad Gita says. Yes?
Okay, so maybe he did it because of the times and how things are being
that we can discuss sometime.
But that is okay. But from a soul perspective, I was trying to, because we were touching on this material world and spiritual world.
Yeah.
That is why I wanted to bring this up, because I was trying to contend.
So the analogy is perfect, that there is a current which flows through. Exactly. Otherwise, you see this computer, if there is no flow of the current, it's a dead matter, right? So correct, the flow, the flow itself, and that flow is consciousness.
But the only difference being, he's not talking about that soul being achintya bheda bhed. He's talking about it being without identity. It is the same flow in everybody without an identity of its own.
So the concept people don't want to understand or they want to refute will also be discussed in Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Wait for 4 more verses, Rishi, and we'll get to that.
No problem. Okay.
Yeah. actually 6 to be specific, because we are in 2.20 at the moment. I was thinking of going to 2.22 today, but I think the time will not help us to go there. So 2.26 will answer your question very nicely.
Okay.
Yeah. But as of now, to understand why Buddhism is that, so Buddha also is an incarnation of Vishnu.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that is 2.20. He says unborn. Yeah. Eternal, ever existing, and primeval. So it is not bound by time. Yeah. But if there is time, then it becomes material. As soon as we put time in it. Yes, Kalpesh.
Prabhuji, I don't know why, but Zoom has again popped up saying that, our session will be closed in 5 minutes. So
That's okay. So we'll end in 5 minutes. That's all right.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So we'll discuss. So 2.21, quickly, I'll touch on that in 5 minutes. It wouldn't take that long. Able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Veda vinashinam nityam na enam javam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghadayati hantikam. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So Atma or Jivatma, as we discussed, or Anuatma, is eternal. Krishna says that. Body is destructible. So material world and spiritual world. So body destructible means there is time constraint. The soul enters into the body, is there, and soul leaves the body because the body is dead matter, finishes. So if soul is eternal, comes and goes back, is eternal, there is no time bound, and body is destructible, a dead matter, then who's the killer? Yeah. See Krishna's argument. Who's the killer and who gets destroyed? He's asking the question back to him. So very, tricky kind of words here, asking a trick question to Arjun back. That's about it for today. We'll discuss from 2.22 next week onwards. And 2.26, Krishna will also give another philosophy of if soul was destructible. That will answer your question, Rishi.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll end our discussion here. Any comments or questions before the session ends?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the beautiful class. Really,
Thank you.
Repeating whatever we know, we keep reading Bhagavad Gita, but repeating helps us, Prabhu, to implement in our lives every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget. Again, we are coming back. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. And it's nice to have you back, Prabhu, these classes.
Same here. Yes, Kalpesh. Yes.
So, Prabhuji, I came back from India. I have done a lot of chant over there. So when are we doing
Kirtan?
Yes.
Yeah. End of, so generally the practice is that that's the flow I maintain. End of every month we will try to have our Kirtan sessions in Sydney. So this month end, the last I think week, maybe 26th, maybe next week or the week after, we'll plan that.
Okay.
Prabhuji, can we do after 27th, please? I'll be back on 27th.
Okay. So we will do on 1st of April, maybe.
Okay.
We'll plan that. So that will be end of March, roughly. Yeah. Is it a good tentative date, Kalpesh?
Yeah.
Saturday?
Anything for Rishi now.
Yes, you owe me one.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have a good Kirtan this time. Yeah. We'll try to Ayendra Prabhu Kirtan this time. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Nilima ji. Your first time to attend our session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna,
Glad to be
Thank you
here.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.